Patreon Q&A number 72. I want to thank all 109 of my mega lit patrons. Guys, your support really helps me more than you know, and I can't thank you enough. I also want to give a shout out to James Dragneil for joining the Patreon, and to everyone else listening, there's going to be spoilers, so tread carefully. Chasey asks, hey Z, another week, another Bigu anime Bataru. I hope you find this one as interesting as I do. Watchdog Man versus Bang. So I assume that a lot of people have probably thought about this. I mean, I've been asked about it quite a few times, and it makes sense because we've seen Watchdog Man versus Hero Hunter Garo, who of course uses the Water Street Rock Smashing Fist, and Watchdog Man is one of the very few characters in the series who has actually been able to deal with that outside of being like so absurdly powerful that they can just muscle over it. But given that, you know, he was able to wash Hero Hunter Garo pretty easily, what would happen if he were to go against like a super upgraded version of him in Silver Fang? And given that we don't know the full extent of Watchdog Man yet, I can't be too generous with scaling him or upscaling him, I'll say, for this hypothetical battle. And given that Silver Fang is a proven high dragon, has way better feats than what Watchdog Man has, and also granted, we haven't seen too much of Watchdog Man yet, so he's kind of limited by what we have seen. But for now, I'll say that Silver Fang would probably still win. I mean, I don't think it would be a complete wash. Watchdog Man, I think, would present Silver Fang with the same type of obstacles and problems that he presented with Hero Hunter Garo. And Bang, when he saw Watchdog Man's style, like when Garo used it for a little bit, like when he was running away, he kind of looked at it like with like a farcical kind of reaction. So maybe he would kind of be offended by Watchdog Man's style and maybe would press a little harder. But I ultimately think they would probably overcome him. I don't know if he would have to use the abandonment per se to overcome Watchdog Man. Maybe he would just be able to old-fashioned just outwork him by eventually adapting to what he is doing, which I think Silver Fang could do. But in the end, I think it's more likely that he would win rather than Watchdog Man winning, given of what we have seen so far. Acoustic asks, hey man, just wanted to ask who you think the S-Class will be when the One Punch Man storyline comes to an end. The number ranking would be helpful too. Cheers. So it's honestly difficult to say like if the S-Class is even going to be a thing by the end of the story, considering that it might collapse at any chapter at this point. Like with MemePriest talking about how he wants to abolish the S-Class system, how the Neo Heroes are probably going to try to overtake them, and how the Hero Association itself is going to collapse with all of the new info coming out about all of the, you know, the dirty deeds and all of the corrupt stuff that they've done. So I'm not even sure if it'll be around, but if it does, it's really also hard to say how things are going to play out at that point, like who's going to be around and who's not. But here's my list. I'm taking into account that Drive Knight is probably going to be gone, Metal Knight's probably going to be gone, Silver Fang is retired, and then Blast probably won't be in it either. And this is also depending on if Saitama is going to be revealed to be the one above all to everyone at the end, which it's like a 50-50 chance possibly at this point. But here's what I think is probably going to happen. It's a really rough estimate. AyoJay asks, what's good Z? Glad to see the increase in support for you, man. Keep up the great content. Hey, thanks Jay, and I also appreciate your continued support. In the upcoming My Hero War arc, who do you think the major hero deaths will be? So I think All Might is definitely going to die for sure. I would be more surprised if he didn't die. It's going to be unfortunate. I don't want him to die, but it's kind of necessary, I suppose, for the story. Another big death could be Endeavor. Like, considering that, like, we're gonna have, like, I assume, like, the changing of the guard in this arc, like, the, you know, the Endeavor age of dudes, they're probably gonna come to an end. So I could see, like, Dabi taking him out, and then that ultimately gives Shoto, like, the big motivation to overcome Dabi by the end of the series, because he took out Endeavor. You know, even though Shoto is only growing recently closer to Endeavor, I think, you know, All Might and Endeavor's death are ultimately gonna give Izuku and Shoto, like, reasons to go after the big bads towards the true end of the series. And then aside from that, I think really it's fair game for any other, like, older pro hero to die in this arc, because there are gonna have to be some casualties for sure. So maybe even Gran Torino kicks the bucket too. Cameren C asks, how you been, Shonen, the YouTuber above all? Hey, thanks Cameron, you're too kind, my friend. I've got a Dragon Ball Super question this time around. If the series continues after Moro, what type of broken ability do you think the next big bad will have? Regeneration, energy absorption, immortality, or will they just be incredibly strong like Jiren was? So I do think it will continue after Moro. I don't see any reason for it to really end, especially given the developments on the Z fighters that we're finally getting in the lead up to the big battle that we're ultimately going to have at the end of this arc, you know, like Yamcha and Gohan. What I would really like to see is like a grappling based villain. like somebody strong like Jiren, which I was on board with. I just wish we got more of an explanation as to why Jiren was as powerful as he was, rather than just the implications of him training with his master and whatnot. But if we got like a more in-depth Jiren type character who is like grappling based, I think that would be a nice change of pace, and also give the Z fighters, like Goku and Vegeta, probably the most trouble that they've ever had, something that they haven't really had to deal with before, and they would also have to learn said grappling style in order to be able to compete with that. I think that would be a nice change of pace. Free-Tshirts asks, yo, Shonen, I missed last week, but man, did one drop some major news. So MemePriest is a monster and is on the time limit before he loses humanity, which is super interesting. My question now is, with this revealed, what do you think one's plans are with a MemePriest? Do you think he'll kill him off by the end of the story, and maybe one will have the heroes capture him, or maybe something else? Would love to hear your thoughts. Take care, my guy. So I think that ultimately a MemePriest is probably going to have like a tragic ending, maybe. So either he's going to sacrifice himself once he fully becomes monster, and sacrifice himself so that humanity can strive, or the heroes live, or something like that. Maybe he just knows that he's beyond the point of return and he just offs himself for the greater good. Or he does become a monster, fights the heroes and then gets defeated and then runs off, or something similar to Garo. And then ultimately, if Saitama defeats God, and God does turn out to be the creator of like the monster system, then he becomes a human, because that whole thing's dead, kind of like Dracula and the vampires and all that stuff. Joe D asks, first, do you think that any character will actually remove their limiters and join Saitama's tier in the canon of the series? It seems like Glasses and Garo may be on their path, even since Genos is the biggest limit put on him, since his power can exceed his parts, which could be one foreshadowing, since we all know he loved breaking limits. So I'm really unsure if we're going to see like another character literally break their limiter. I mean, Glasses is definitely on his path, but I'm unsure if we will see him fulfill that by the end of the series, considering it took Saitama like a little over a year and a half to complete that. We're only like, less than a month into Glasses' journey, so unless he like somehow undergoes like some crazy Zenkai boost in the meantime, we probably won't see it. But Garo, it's implied that he did remove his limiter when he became Awakened Garo. Now hopefully we get more clarification on that in the manga once we get to that. And then Genos, I don't think it's possible for him to remove his limiter. At least currently I don't think it is, because you need to have like a full biological body in order to do that. And considering that he's like a cyborg, I think it's kind of impeding with that, since he has been coming close to death multiple times and then came back from it, but he doesn't seem to be undergoing Zenkai boosts in the traditional sense, the way that Psychos explains it. He's kind of just getting more upgrades from Dr. Kuseno, and I think that him having the body is probably holding him back from that. But unless like a new character is introduced or something like that, I don't think we're going to see another limiter being removed, possibly. Joseph K asks, hey Shonen, if Elder Centipede Genos transported into the My Hero universe and replaced with Snatch from the most recent episode where the 3 League members attack Overhaul's prison transport, what's the outcome? Do Shigaraki, Dabi, and Compress have any realistic chance of surviving this? Retreat isn't really an option because of Genos' speed. Let's say Genos doesn't know their quirks beforehand. I still don't see the way that he can incapacitate them, especially when he doesn't care about taking them in alive. Let's get ready to rumble, peace, man. So, given that Genos in this situation doesn't know their quirks, I think this is probably going to play to their advantage. So yes, he is obviously way more powerful than all of them, way faster, way more firepower. But I think that ultimately Mr. Compress can probably compress him. While he's going to be like distracted with Dabi and Shigaraki, he'll probably get him off guard, and then just Genos is essentially vulnerable to that, and he can't really do anything once he is compressed by it. I think that's probably a good likely outcome. But other than that, I mean, Genos could just vaporize all of them with one of its blasts probably very easily. But if we're just looking outside of that, then yeah, I think ultimately Mr. Compress is going to snatch him up. Or Dabi and Shigaraki could probably even die in the process. But given that he doesn't know what's coming, he's very vulnerable to being compressed. Actually similar to what happened with Snatch. King's Queen asks, yo Z, hope all's well. That it is, King's Queen. I hope it is for you as well. Question this week is, can there ever really be a god level threat with Saitama around? God level threat is any threat to humanity, but when you take into account Saitama, there really is no threat to humanity. Would love to hear your thoughts. So technically, no, but also at the same time, yes, because the whole god level threat is going to be established by the Hero Association in the first place, and the Hero Association ultimately isn't aware of Saitama's existence. Therefore, if something were to appear that really gave the S-Class like some serious trouble and Blast wasn't showing up, or they needed Blast to come, they would definitely label something as a god-level threat, because it technically is a threat to humanity, given that they don't know Saitama could come and take care of it. Now, if they did know that Saitama was the one above all, and they do know that he could come and save the day, then they wouldn't really label it that, because they really wouldn't have to. Legandaryus asks, hey Shonen, have questions this week about the old theory of Saitama being a monster. Does the recent chapters of the webcomic help support this theory, since Saitama wanted to be a hero that could beat any villain in one punch? So, it does support it for sure. I actually made a video recently about this, about like the possible secret behind Saitama's power, but I don't think it ultimately comes down to him being a hero that wanted to defeat a villain in one punch. I don't think that was like the driving factor in what caused him to become as powerful as he was. It's more so him just wanting to be super powerful, not so much just the notion of taking down everybody with one punch, because it ultimately, doesn't always come down to one punch with him, as we've seen against Boros and everything. I think that's just more so like what the narrative is pushing, but more so him as an inherent character. It was just him pushing through himself to tap more and so into the power that possibly was established by God. And I think that's ultimately where him possibly being a monster is coming from. So I don't think he is a full-blown monster, but the whole theory, the hypothesis that I was pushing, is that the power that monsters tap into is the same power that Saitama taps into as well. So they're really not that far apart, but they're still not one and the same. Mellow asks, greetings Shonen, how would you rank the first 3 seasons of My Hero Academia? So I think season 3 is the best, season 2 is the second best, and then season 1 is probably the third. I think season 3 is probably even better than season 4 at this point. And just because I'm ranking these above the other, I don't think any of the seasons are weak. I think all of the My Hero seasons are very strong, but season 3 is probably just the best in my opinion. It has all the best moments. It has like the Camino arc, All for One versus All Might, which is obviously incredible. It has the provisional license exam, which is amazing, and then it has Bakugo versus Izuku round 2. It's just an incredible arc, really. So many developments in it. And then who would win if Darkshine faces off both Watchdog Man and Metal Bat? So at this point in time, I was talking about this earlier, we don't know the full extent of Watchdog Man's power, and I don't want to be too generous with him, so I can't really say that he's like a high dragon, maybe a mid dragon or something like that. But at this point I would say Darkshine can probably take the both of them. Darkshine would probably like low to mid diff Metal Bat just by himself, and then Watchdog Man, I assume that he probably wouldn't push him too much, at least currently what we know of him. Like I said, I don't want to put too much on Watchdog Man because we just haven't seen too much of him, but we have seen enough of Darkshine to make me think that he could probably solo both of them. MemePriest asks, I was going to ask, what if Metal Bat knew boxing? Do you think his fight with Garo would play out differently? So I think it would play out a little differently, but not significantly. Like, even if he did know hand-to-hand, whether it be kickboxing, boxing, or even MMA or jiu-jitsu or whatever, I don't think it would ultimately really change what happened in the end. Like, he would have to be like an absolute master to the degree of like minimum Suiveryu. And then he would have to go to like Silver Fang and Bomb levels to even really have the upper hand against Garo. And ultimately, I think that would still conflict with what one ultimately wants with Metal Bat. Like, in the original draft of the fight between him and Garo, like, Metal Bat like tackled Garo into the incoming manhole that he knocked at him. And then one wanted that changed because he didn't want Metal Bat to fight in any way that didn't involve his bat. So I think in the end, he's probably not going to learn like another style that doesn't include his bat. But like I said, like, he would need to go above and beyond, really. Even like if anybody knew any kind of hand-to-hand fighting, it wouldn't be enough against Garo to take him down, because like we even do see the difference between like Silver Fang and Bomb. Like, cause like Murata and one said that like the style, the whirlwind iron cutting fist that Bomb uses would have taken out Super Mouse just in one blow, and then we saw that Garo kind of just damaged him enough to allow him to regenerate. So even if Metal Bat did know boxing, it just wouldn't be enough. Steven asks, Kotam, so live action One Piece thoughts? I'm just looking forward to Avatar. I don't have optimism or enthusiasm for anything else. Later, dude. So I am aware of this One Piece live action series, and given the track record that Netflix has with these adaptations, I'm not really looking forward to it. I mean, I'll watch it, but I just like you, I don't have any optimism or enthusiasm, really. I just hope that they don't completely destroy it. Now, I know that Oda is an executive producer on it, so that might help. And I know that some people that were developing like the Luke Cage show are behind it, and they're also developing the live-action Cowboy Bebop. So all I can really do is hope that they do the best with what they can do. But I really wouldn't be surprised if it's just a complete disaster like most of the other adaptations that they've made so far. That's Hot asks, hey Big Z, really hoping I did this whole Q&A comment right. That you did. I just became a patron because I love your awesome content. I know that's kind of vague, but keep fighting the good fight. Hey, it's not vague at all. Thank you so much for your support. That's Hot. I really do appreciate it. Anyways, I was wondering how many more resurrections Phoenix Man would have to go through before reaching somewhere Golden S or Orochi tier. I love Phoenix Man's design and the idea behind him, so I think it would have been cool to have seen how far he could have gotten. I think maybe like one more Zenkai boost or revival, and he would have reached like that above dragon tier possibly. Maybe not Orochi, but I think Golden S for sure. At least webcomic Golden S. I mean, he was already high dragon pretty much. I mean, more or less. If not high dragon, he was very close to it in his Brilliant Eagle form. And he gets, you know, so much more powerful with every resurrection. So I'm thinking just one more, and then he would have been like crazy, even more crazy powerful. Like Child Emperor would have had to just run away, and then multiple S-Class heroes would have had to team up to take him on. Tim asks, hey Shonen, do you think Garo will be a part of the future arcs? I hope so, because he's my favorite character. Have a good day and hope you're doing well. Hey, thanks Tim, I am doing well. I hope you are as well. And yes, Garo will for sure be a part of the future arcs, at least in my opinion. I mean, he recently was revealed again in chapter 110 or 111 of the webcomic when like King was walking up on that waterfall and we saw Garo training, and that was shown definitely for a reason. So I think Garo is for sure going to come back in the future, and he'll be less evil than he was and less menacing. I don't think he'll be the hero hunter anymore, but he won't be like on the side of the heroes per se. I think he'll be more so like how Sonic is, like kind of like neutral. You know, he's neither good nor evil, and he kind of just will side against monsters more so than just siding with the heroes, if that makes sense. But he'll be back. I'm sure he'll be a major character for the remainder of the series whenever it comes back to him. TractorCannon asks, sup Shonen Man, when I saw the OVA, I wonder if King had one of Metal Knight's robots and somehow have a game controller for it. Would he be godly? Since he is really good at video games, and could he probably control the robots better than Metal Knight? Have a good day, brother. So thank you, Tractor. You too. So yes, I get asked this question a lot, actually, and it's just a popular concept with King about having to use like a robot with a controller, and I think this pretty much confirms that, yeah, he would be nasty with that thing, because if he was able to completely school Suibaryu with a controller, like pretty much going against Suibaryu using his actual style, I think it more or less confirms that like if he was controlling a robot, he would like destroy everyone almost. I mean, of course it would depend on how powerful the robot would be, but if like Metal Knight supplied him with like a pretty powerful like dragon level robot, he could do some serious damage with it. For sure, and I think that he would definitely control it way better than Metal Knight, like way better than Metal Knight. Android17 asks, what's going on, Shonen? Big fan of your channel and how you interact with your fans. Hey, thanks Android17, I appreciate your new support, my friend. My question is, who do you think would win in a fight? Naruto from the end of Shippuden / Hokage Naruto, whichever version you think is stronger, versus Boros. I think Boros has the advantage when it comes to raw strength and speed, but Naruto is more versatile with Shadow Clones, Rasengan, Sage Mode, etc. I would give the win to Boros, but I think it's really close. So this is going to get me in trouble because, you know, the Naruto community, especially when it comes to power scaling and the hypothetical versus battles, are like vicious with that stuff. And if you like say one wrong thing, they'll jump all over you. But, you know, it's going to come regardless. I'm just going to get hated on for whatever I say in the end. But I agree with you more or less. I think Boros probably takes the win here. And again, I'm not saying that Naruto is weak, especially end of series Naruto. He's ridiculously powerful, obviously. He's objectively powerful. But just given what we have seen, or at least what I've seen, because it's coming from my opinion, like Boros' feats, I'm just talking about anime stuff. We can go into manga nuances and everything and calculations, and we go into the data book saying that the Light Fang is literally the speed of light, and Naruto was able to dodge that, and that equates to everything. And then some people also say that like Boros is like weaker than Night Guy, which I don't think is true. Again, coming back to my opinion. But I mean, I don't think it would be a complete wash for either side, but I think Boros is probably just overall faster, stronger. He just has more of the outrageous feats. So that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Once again, I want to thank all 109 of my incredibly attractive, powerful patrons, guys. I love you so much. Thank you again for all of your support. And to everyone else, if you'd like to be in next week's Q&A, simply check out my Patreon. The $5 tier will give you access to this video. And also, if you haven't subscribed, please do that as well. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.